Anderson School District 5, we have a little over 13,000 students, around 1,800 full-time employees. We have 23 school sites. That includes adult ed. We are the largest of the 5 school districts in Anderson in enrollment, but we are the smallest geographically, primarily because we have the city of Anderson. We have 23 school sites, 11 elementary schools, 2 high schools, 4 middle schools. McCants, Glenview, Southwood, Robert Anderson, and this year we're closing Lakeside, which has been a middle school for us for a number of years. And on that site will be the new Anderson Institute of Technology will be constructed on that site.
How important is that Anderson Institute of Technology to the future of the district and the county?
Yeah, obviously we currently have a career center, which is at the old McDuffie's. Folks will refer to it as that. Some call it the E-Campus, some call it Boys High, depends on your age. It has served us well, but because of some limitations in the building, it's not a modern structure. So the new Anderson Institute of Technology will be a state-of-the-art facility, 120,000 square feet, around $34 million all in, turnkey, everything. It's going to really boost the whole upstate as far as what we're able to graduate kids with Michelin in the back door of it. Bosch, Sargent Metals, First Quality, Electrolux, all those, and then smaller companies that need welders, need machinists, need those kind of skills coming out of high school. And then also what's attractive about it is it's next door to Tri-County Technical College. So we'll have kids that can go next door and take dual enrollment classes, come back on our campus, spend the entire day there, either at Tri-County Tech or at the Institute of Technology, then go back to their high school and be on the football team or in the band or cheerlead or whatever. And a lot of folks still think of career centers like this, like an old technical high school, but every kid really should go through there, whether they're going to go to Clemson and be an engineer, or whether they're going to go to Tri-County Tech, whether they're going to be a physician or a nurse's aide, because it has a pathway it's not just for kids that don't want to go to a traditional baccalaureate pathway. It's for all students. And when that's opened, in partnering with districts 1 and 2, they currently have a fine career center there. So Anderson County will have 2 great facilities for all the students, all 5 districts, to be able to be exposed to those pathways. I know business and industry is excited about it because of the job market and the growth, and they're like any other industry. As these baby boomers age, folks, we got a lot of people working in public school that can retire. They have a lot at Michelin that can retire. So I know people are worried that if all that retired would leave, what would we do? And education is the same thing. So the new Career Center, Anderson Institute of Technology, I think is going to be a booster shot for the economy, a booster shot for workforce development. And also we believe it will do a lot to enhance the value of 28 Bypass. There's a lot of vacant land on 28 Bypass that could be developed. We were excited. We saw a new Aldi coming in, on 28 Bypass. So we hope to see more positive growth, restaurants, grocery stores, to serve the western part of Anderson District 5 and also Anderson County.
A lot of parents that still have that four-year college mentality would be surprised at the salaries people are making in partnership with some of the people we're talking about with tech centers. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
it's you can go talk to Bosch or Michelin or any of these folks. It's amazing what they offer young men and women right out of high school if they employ them, many of them will actually pay for them to go to Tri-County Technical College. Some will pay them while they're in class, where they're getting their hourly salary. So there's some huge benefits. Working in manufacturing now is not like it was in 1965 when there were over a dozen textile mills in this town. It's high tech, it's clean, it's manufacturing's changed, and it pays well because these are highly skilled jobs that people are, and many times are using pieces of equipment that can cost millions of dollars, and also we're embedding what some people refer to as soft skills, which I like to refer to as life skills. It's about working with other people. It's about how do you get along? Can you show up on time? Can you work in a group? Because modern manufacturing has changed in the fact that a lot of times there's nobody supervising a group of people. People have to solve problems on their own. They have to work together. They have to manage time. And it's all those skills that that folks my age learned at their dinner table with their parents, but unfortunately a lot of kids don't learn that now. So we're trying to embed that into our curriculum, into our expectations for students. In fact, we have a few of our elementary schools are given the old report cards like we used to do, works well with others, assumes responsibilities for own actions. Those things, those were soft skills. They were purely not academic measurements, because people will tell you that I've talked to in industry, not only in South Carolina, but in my career in Georgia. Give us people that can pass a drug test, don't have a criminal background, and have a high school diploma. We will work with them. We will teach them and train them, and they will be well compensated and have great benefits and can have a successful career.
And you mentioned that I've talked to parents who've had children go through this, and they were literally stunned at how high the salaries were for some of them that went through the program that while they're still in high school working with some of these. I mean, remind people what kind of salaries people can make without going to a 4-year school.
Yeah, man, it's $50,000, $60,000. And we're starting to really branch out, trying to get more apprenticeship programs where kids can go in and are interns and understand, because the worst career development is a 4-year degree. If folks go to college for 4 years, I want to be a teacher. Well, after 4 years, they find out, I really don't like kids, and then what do? So the more experiences they can have, if they want to be a teacher, they want to be, we have kids that want to be a veterinarian. Well, we'll have a vet program at the Anderson Institute of Technology. Well, they may find out they may not want to be a vet when they cleaning kennels all day. And so the more experiences we can give students to find out exactly what their passion is, because you've got to be, the only way to be happy in life is to be in a vocation that's your avocation. And so that's what the Career Center is about, to give kids opportunities to explore things, to find their niche, it can be all the way from broadcast media to mechatronics, to welding, to automotive repair. And it brings relevance. And so I'm excited. We have a great new director. Bob Couch is joining us. He's coming from the Columbia area, well known around the Southeast, highly thought of from everybody that's in CTE, CATE education, career and technical education. He is probably the number one person that people think of in the state. We're very fortunate to get Dr. Couch, and he's opened a career center before, so he'll know from the ground up to start working with businesses and partnerships and get things off the ground.
And you were telling me he's a native of this area, so it's a homecoming for him as well. He's not a stranger to Anderson. Yeah,
and what he liked about the upstates, I asked him why, you got a great situation. And I think one of the things that impressed him about the upstate is this is manufacturing. You know, it's maybe different than the Midlands. It's a lot more opportunities to build partnerships with business and industry, and also where kids can go into those companies either after high school, after Tri-County Technical College, or after a degree at Clemson or Georgia Tech or wherever. And I think that's attracted. And I know his son, I believe, works at Clemson. So he's coming home, so to speak.
You got a new school year that'll be here like sooner than anybody thinks. What are some of the major events, challenges, things coming up in Anderson County School District 5 for the 2017-2018 school year?
Well, one of the things that we've done over the last few years, we've obviously enhanced a lot of our facilities through the sales tax. We've put a lot of money into both high schools, which rightly so, they needed it. And serve a lot of kids. We're very proud of that. We're building a new career center. We're demolishing Lakeside. We're selling about 19 acres, up to 18 or 19 acres of frontage on McCants property. We have a contract now, and they're in the due diligence period now, but we hope that will go through.
Does that include the bowl there? Will somebody fill that in?
Yeah, the bowl will be gone.
Okay.
And so we're excited about that. Number one, we will take the proceeds off of that and put into the McCants building, enhance it. It's got a new roof on it. We just put a $900,000 roof on it. Do some work with HVAC, floor covering, some safety concerns, because we'll continue to have 2 middle schools in the Hannah cluster.
Well, I was going to say, that was Hannah when you and I went there.
Exactly.
And are they going to expand it at all? Is it big enough?
Yeah, it's big enough.
Okay, it's just going to
stay about the same size. Yeah. And but a large focus for us next year moving forward is what we're doing at the elementary schools. We've moved a lot of principals around. Some very veteran principals are going to some of our most challenging elementary schools, our Title I schools. We're also...
How many Title I schools do we have?
5 elementary.
5 elementary. Okay.
And then Robert Anderson is a Title I. We are focusing a lot of resources on elementary instruction. We are forming a team with Tana Maroney, who was principal at Whitehall. Excuse me, and Whitehall is a Title I school. And their test scores rival Concord's and anybody else. And Tana had developed her template. He's proven it works. And it's very data-driven, looking at each individual child, the student growth of each individual student in a class, not just how the class is doing, but how's every child doing, and breaking that down. She's going to head a team of what we call elementary instructional improvement team. It'll be her and 2 or 3 teachers. They will work with our Title I schools. They'll go in, work with the principals, work with teachers primarily to improve instruction. They're not there to supervise. They're not there to evaluate people. They're there to sit down with teachers and let's show you how you can examine every child so that child will grow academically. We're also adding 2 social workers, one for each cluster, one for the Hannah cluster and one for the West Side cluster. A lot of states mandate social workers. I don't know if Anderson 5's ever had them or not, maybe in the past, but a social worker, for those that don't know, they're not a counselor, they're not a mental health person. They're someone to work the conduit between the school and the home. What's going on in the home that is a barrier to this child being successful? Is it social factors? Is it unemployment? Is it substance abuse? And they'll work closely with DSS and get resources that children need, because we're like every district. It's amazing that a lot of kids even get up and come to school.
You have a lot of homeless kids too, right?
Yeah. countywide, at any given moment, we have over 1,000 homeless children. And homeless doesn't mean necessarily they're sleeping in a box somewhere, but we provide through federal grants short-term, extended stay hotels, rental homes, and these kids are in these places not by their choice. And it's amazing, a lot of them even come to school. And so that's what the social worker will work. Most of the work will be on the elementary level, because by the time a child gets in high school, they can generally go to a counselor or a principal and, this is going on in my life, I need help. Little ones, they can't. So we're, the social workers will be a huge part for us. We're also moving forward with SROs at all our schools. We're still in the contract negotiations with the city, primarily over fees we're going to pay, and working with the sheriff to make sure we can get enough. If we can't, then we'll have hired security, which we've had at some of our schools. We're focusing, like I said, the majority of our focus, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. We've seen upticks on our graduation rates at Westside, particularly at Westside. We've seen tremendous growth. We believe they will be close to 80% graduation, which 5 years ago they were 68%. So we've seen that. Hannah's in the 80s, and as you get closer to 100%, it gets harder to, the kind of the law of diminishing returns. So, but Corey Roberts and his team have done a great job at Westside. We're increasing our dual enrollment opportunities for students, where we want more juniors taking those classes, going to Tri-County Tech, going to AU, going to Clemson. And we're a big proponent of move on when ready. That when a kid, and the South Carolina needs to get out of this whole seat time thing, and you got to go X number of days. I think we need to move to a case where when you've completed the material and you've proven proficiency, move on. And because we see it every year, as soon as state testing's over. Now, we try to test as late as we can, because kids know as soon as state testing's over, as soon as the AP exams are over in May, near the 1st of May, and of course, for all practical purposes, students know it's pretty much over. And so the last few weeks of school, quite honestly, is not very productive, because the students know I've already taken these state assessments, and particularly when you're graduating 2 weeks before school's out. So those are some things we want to work on. I've met with our testing coordinator to test as late as we can. Ideally, we should give those state assessments the last week of school. And those end-of-course tests should be the last 2 or 3 days of school. But, there's a lot of issues there about getting them graded, getting back, so where to place kids next year. But if we truly wanted to improve instruction, because they'd be in school longer before they take the test. Another issue we hope to address is local school districts in this state need the authority to set their own calendar, when they start school, when they get out. We're mandated by the state not to start before a certain date. And what that does to us, it puts kids coming back after Christmas break to take final exams. We need to be like Clemson and every other university or most states, that they take the exams the last 3 days before Christmas break, and they come back and they start a new semester, because we're on the 4x4 block. It just fits perfectly. And quite honestly, we're sacrificing instructional improvement so someone can run a slushy machine at Myrtle Beach, quite honestly. And I think that needs to be addressed. And if we're truly going to move things forward in this state, we need more local control, because these 9 school board members, they're the ones that are elected to make these decisions about how a local district should be run. So, we hope to express our concerns in Columbia. We've got a great relationship with our delegation. We've had numerous conversations with them, but if you take everything off, what's best for kids, what we're doing with our calendar is not best for kids and instruction. So, I guess in a nutshell, our focus here before has been secondary. We think we have those on the right track now. You know, there were some criticisms early on. All you care about is high schools, but those high schools are the flagships. And now we feel like they're going in the right direction. The instructional program's strong. You know, West Side's made tremendous gains. Now we're focusing on the feeder, like why we moved Gary Burgell to Holman Park. Holman Park is the second highest poverty school in primary school in the state. Gary is one of the finest principals I've ever worked with, well thought of. When I met with him to give him the opportunity to go to Holman Park, he jumped on it. And he was excited because he sees it. You know, Gary could retire and go anywhere he wants to and get a job anywhere in this country because he's that skilled. But Gary was excited to go to Holman Park and accept a challenge and turn that school around instructionally and partner with Verenus because those kids it's K2. And we have Brian Williams, who's coming back to us. He's been principal in Greenville. Brian's going to be at New Prospect. Tara Stokes McIntosh, who used to work in District 5, she's been down in Lawrence. She's coming back and is going to be principal at Verenus. So they're going to partner because really that's really one school, quite honestly. So we've hired Tara McIntosh, as I said, was a proven principal. Brian Williams was with us. He went to Greenville, was at a Title I school there. We were able to get him back. So we were able to recruit some principals with experience. And then moving Gary to Holman Park, we feel like we're going to see some strong improvement in our Title I schools.
We talked about technology a little bit. How are y'all going to continue to use technology, maybe online classes, more technology in the classroom? What are the plans for that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. As you know, we're one-to-one technology from 5th grade, Chromebooks. We also have classroom sets at some of the elementary schools. We're looking at expanding that because all the assessment now is online, so you need devices so it doesn't take you a month to test everybody. We're far better than the majority of the districts in the state. In fact, we were able to test last year online when you had the option of paper, pencil, or online. We chose to go ahead and do online, which was good for our kids because this year, it was a kind of old hat. The thing with technology, where schools have made the mistake is they believe, well, we buy these devices and we give them to teachers and that's it. Well, that's only a third of it. You've got to provide resources to teach teachers how to use them, provide professional development, and then you've got to have break-fix people because, as you know, in your business, they break and they don't work or they don't boot or whatever. So we were able this year, where all our schools will have professional development people, digital integrational specialist, which is a fancy name for technology professional development folks that will work with teachers. And then our elementary schools will have one per each cluster to work with them because there's less technology just number-wise. And then also we've added break-fix people at our high schools, at our middle schools, and then at the elementary schools where they'll work in a cluster to keep things running. Because I can tell you, you can give a classroom teacher all this technology, but if it doesn't work, they're going to resort to what they know does work. And it may be, all right, get out your pencil and paper and let's take notes. So where schools have made mistakes before is they've done a third of it, but they haven't followed through with the other 2/3. So we hope that we're going to improve that. Our downtime will be less, but it's expensive. Technology takes a lot of people, a lot of support, and but we're proud we're able to get it in our budget and move forward with it. So this year's budget purely is all instructional based to improve instruction, and technically every year is. But there's some years, you may have other things you're buying, you're trying to do, or whatever. But we're really focusing on elementary instruction and support, and and obviously the technology support at all the schools.
You mentioned resource officers. How important is the safety factor? Because everybody's always talking about that, and you've got some older schools here that are a bit harder to secure. What are y'all doing this year for that?
Well, we've got we've got secure entry at most of our schools, or the vast majority. West Side is one of those schools that's hard to secure. McCants is, because of the buildings it was built. Lakeside was. Of course, that's going to be demolished. We just try to do due diligence, kind of see something, say something. The SROs and the hired security. The cars are a deterrent. We try to have signage. You try to just be as proactive as you can. Unfortunately, we live in a society that if a person is determined to do an irrational act, it's very difficult sometimes to stop it. And we've seen it recently, as you know, in London and now in Paris yesterday. It's just, but our teachers are aware of it. We practice drills, we practice lockdowns, we have radios to communicate in emergencies. We have a good relationship with the sheriff's department and the police department. And, the main thing is try to do everything in your power to make a school as safe as you can. Schools, they weren't built to be prisons. And, we could build a 20-foot fence with razor wire around them, and they still wouldn't, you couldn't guarantee, just like you can't guarantee a prison is safe. But, and I don't, and hopefully we never get to that point. But, there's some schools around the country that are almost like that. And, but again, we're one of the best things I think about Anderson, that, we're a public school community. We have some private schools, some religious privates, which is great. We have homeschool. That's certainly a parent's choice. But the vast majority, just like nationwide, the vast majority of children are in public schools. And I think there's a vested interest from our community. We've had people will call, they'll see something, and we like that. And we follow up on every lead. But again, it's a lot of it's just like you'll see at the airports. You see something, you say something. And the majority of times we've been able to find weapons on campus, drugs, is when a student trusts an adult enough to go to them. And it's been that way since I was a high school principal. We used to do drug searches and this and that. The only time I ever found things was when students went and said, "Mr. Wilson, you need to check John Doe out." And all that is about relationships and about trust. And that's why you'll see it a lot where they'll go to a coach or a counselor or a teacher or someone they're really close to, a band director, people they spend a lot of time with, and we follow up.
And that's one of the new things you mentioned. I think all of your schools have had active assailant training,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something new for teachers that have to be trained. What happens if somebody comes? But they've all gone through very systematic training on what to do, and which makes them a little.
Yeah, intruder alert training, active shooter training. In fact, the sheriff's department is going to use Lakeside before it's demolished for some training. I think they're going to blow some doors and really do, it's rare they get a building that size that's about to be demolished.
They had to do that in the Bells building. They love blowing those doors.
Yeah, exactly. So, in fact, they told me I could come and set the charge, But it's all about partnerships, and we've got a good relationship with all of them, and it takes everybody to keep anything, whether it's a community or a school, safe.
You've had some huge forward movement in athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that going to go this year? What are we looking at this year for that? I mean, you got anything new planned or?
No, we've hired a new coach at TL Hanna, who I think you've met. Coach Herring brings wealth of experience, 287 wins, 5 state championships. He had a career in Georgia. He and I had never worked together. We'd kind of crossed paths a couple of times. I know they're working hard. West Side, as far as football, all their sports, and the same with Hanna. They've been very competitive in the region. West Side, I did find out yesterday, I think they're ranked 3rd in preseason for next year going out. Of course, they'll tell you preseason really doesn't matter. It's how you end up. But, West Side's got a good core. Of course, Coach Early, this will be his 4th year, so those kids are kind of ingrained in the program. Coach Herring's building that. He's hired some good assistants. He's hired 2 ex-head football coaches as assistants. We've tried to be supportive to help them recruit coaches. So I'm confident he's going to build that program. Of course, we have the state-of-the-art facilities with the field houses and the fields and the turf and scoreboards and all those things. And that was one of the things we were able to recruit him because of that. So I'm confident both schools will be competitive. And because what wins in high school is the program. Those kids, when they're in the 7th grade, they weigh 105 pounds and skinny little arms. And all of a sudden, by the time they're juniors, they're 220 pounds, and they've been in it, they've been in lifting, and they've been buying in, and they've done everything you ask. And a lot of those kids will never play after they leave high school. The vast majority won't. But they're part of it, and they want to be a Yellow Jacket or be around, and then they'll graduate and go off and go to college or go to work and contribute and get those benefits from being a member of a team and sacrifice, all those things you learn, from being a member of a team, and that's some valuable lessons. So we're proud of our athletic programs. I get beat up sometimes. All you care about is football, and that's certainly not true. We stress academics, arts, and athletics, and we put a lot of money into all of them. Obviously the majority in academics. But both high schools are moving well. We're excited to have one middle school feeding West Side when the kids from Lakeside move there. That's going to be an easier transition. Hanna still has McCants and Glenview. Of course, we have Southwood. We've got about 138th graders there that will go to either one. So, I feel good where the high schools are going. One of the challenges we have is to convince people in the community that we are a school system, not a system of schools. Because there's a tendency sometimes from people, and even some employees, as long as my school's doing well, that's all that matters. And for this community to grow and be what we want it to be, we got to have all our schools successful, whether it's New Prospect or Concord or Westside or Hanna. It's fine to have rivalries, and that's good, but you can't make it where I only feel good about me if somebody else is doing bad. That's not the way to build a community, and we're working on that. Let's compete on when we compete, but other than that, we need each of us to be successful.
Isn't it true that most studies indicate that there's a direct correlation between athletic participation and academic excellence?
Oh, yeah.
People don't talk about that very much. They think about athletics or academics, but studies indicate that schools and districts that have the highest percentage of athletic participation have the highest.
Yeah, and same whether it's band. Kids that participate in something, whether it's sports, whether it's band, whether it's drama, they perform better academically than, and you can look at it even when my own children, when their sport was in a season, they did better than they did when they were in off season. They had less time, so they're crunching harder. They just have to be more disciplined, more focused. because you come home from practice and you got to get your homework done, be ready for tomorrow, go to bed because you got to get up and get going. But you're right. There's tons of studies that show that all students perform better if they're involved in something after school, other than just hanging out. And that's why we encourage our athletes, we play something in the fall, something in the winter, and something in the spring. There's a tendency now, well, I want to play basketball year-round. I want to play baseball year-round because I'm going to be in the major leagues or I'm going to be in the NBA. Look at the people who actually get a paycheck just look at Anderson. How many people from Anderson have ever gotten a paycheck for playing in the National Football League or the NBA? Very few. Very few. And you compare that to the people who have graduated from these schools that are doctors and lawyers and preachers and teachers and good citizens, and they may be working at Michelin, or they're contributing, they're successful. That's what high school is all about. Our job is not to prepare people to be in the National Football League or Major League Baseball, because your chances of winning the lottery are about the same as ever getting a National Football League contract.
Last time we met, we were still talking about the penny sales tax. You want to remind people of what all that was able to accomplish because of the penny?
Yeah, it's if I can remember all we've done. It's just countywide. It's generating somewhere around $1.8 to $2 million a month for Anderson County, and bear in mind that estimated 30% of that money comes from people who don't live here. So really, all these people that are driving through are helping pay for all this stuff. The money's prorated out based on enrollment of the districts. Anderson 5 gets 40% of the money because we have 40% of the kids. What we've been able to do is all the technology support, the one-to-one technology. We bought 5 new activity buses. We put a roof on West Side, a roof on Hannah, a roof on McCants. We're completing a 28 classroom addition at Robert Anderson. We're demolishing Lakeside. We're paying 70% of the construction for the new career center because we'll have 70% of the kids there. We built new field houses at Hannah and West Side. We put artificial turf in the stadiums. We rebuilt the tracks, scoreboards, renovated and air conditioned the press boxes. Did some enhancement on athletic fields. We built 2 new band storage buildings. We got rid of all those containers in front of Hannah that was such an eyesore. All that's gone. We reconfigured that practice field. We bought new trucks, big, 20-foot U-Haul trucks for Hannah and Westside for band. We bought some additional golf carts and things like that for operational and security at both schools. We renovated the Westside cafeteria. We're also renovating. We've done some renovations at Hannah. We're going to finish it this summer. We're painting this summer. One of the things that District 5 has not done, and it was probably because of money, we want to come up with a scheduled preventative maintenance program. Like, for example, every summer we should paint 1 to 2 schools. And this summer we're painting McLeese, the inside of McLeese, and also Midway. And we're redoing the parking lots at both those schools. They've been there a good while. They have cracks. You can't see the lines. They fade. So they're going to repave everything, paint the whole insides of both those schools. We're painting the exterior of Nevitt Forest. So we hope to appropriate $250,000 a year for those kind of jobs. Painting, redoing parking lots, just general upkeep, fencing. We're replacing a lot of fencing we did a lot last year, but some more at West Side, the old rusted galvanized stuff. It's just an eyesore. It's bent. It just looks bad because, number one, it protects your investment. It's just like your home. And, You know, it's like John Kennedy said, the best time to fix your roof is when it's not raining. And so that's what we want to do, is fix these things before we have to. We're real big on how our schools look. Grass cutting, buildings and ground knows I'm passionate about how these yards look, because the majority of people in the community, it's been estimated that 70% of people in the community have not been on a school campus in the last year. We think everybody does, but a lot of people just ride by. They hadn't been on a campus in 10 years, but when they ride by, they see it, and we want to send a message that this is a professional, that it's first class. We take pride in these projects. We take pride in these schools and maintaining them, so they look pleasing to the community. So when people want to move here and they ride around, they go, wow, look how they're taking care of their schools. They must care about their kids. So
we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that parents that have kids in District 5 or just citizens are going to notice about this coming year, or things you want to let them know about the coming school year?
Well, what we've tried to do, we've hired she intern with us a young lady that's going to do all our social media, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff that my generation perhaps doesn't get their news from there. But we find that more parents will go on our Facebook page, especially millennials. I mean, that's how they get it. And so we're really trying to stay ahead of that game. She does a great job of especially on snow day. They're waiting to get a tweet whether school's going to be canceled or not. We do a lot with athletics with it, on updates of scores and games. We're trying to do more live feed. We did it on graduation, and we put it on our website. People can watch it. We're trying to be more communicative that way. And I think parents just need to understand that as a parent, I would encourage you, number one, for your child's principal to know you and for your child's counselor to know you, particularly when they get up in the higher grades. And not that you got to be up there, but just where they know you, they know who your child is, and have that relationship. So you'll feel comfortable going in. A lot of parents, unfortunately, visiting a school is not a good experience for them. Maybe the child's had problems, but we want to build those relationships and know that the door's open. Our goal is to make every decision that's in the best interest of a child, not an adult. But unfortunately, if you say yes to somebody, sometimes it requires you to say no to somebody else. And some people equate no with I don't like you, and that's not the case. I mean, we're trying to do the best we can for kids. We're here to make decisions on their best interest, not adults, and we try to do that. But we're also aware that, and I tell principals that, you got to understand every parent loves their child as much as you love yours, and we need to realize that when a parent is maybe upset with a school, it's they're doing just what any parent wants to do is fight for their child, and if they believe their child's been wrong. So we work to improve that, and but we're very fortunate to have a lot of supportive parents, booster clubs, PTAs, that contribute a lot of money, a lot of work, a lot of time, and we hope they'll continue to do that.
So if people want to find out more information, is social media now the way to go, or just your website, or what should they do?
Well, we have a lot on the website. I get emails from parents. Everything's accessible now. We have a director of external affairs, that Kyle Newton. He gets a lot of requests, primarily through the media, or we'll get parents. I mean, I get students that email me questions, which some people say, I can't. Well, to me, that's kind of cool, that they feel comfortable enough. Number one, they know who the superintendent is. And now I do get blamed for a lot of stuff. I was in a local grocery store. This is a true story. The guy that works there, he goes to West Side. He just graduated, and I've met him over the last year or so. And he wanted to know why they had to ride the bus to graduation practice in Greenville. And I was like, I don't know. He goes, well, everybody said it was your decision. And I said, I had nothing to do with it. So I even got blamed for, making kids ride a school bus. But it's kind of neat that a lot of kids will email me, ask me a question, and a lot of times I may refer them to their principal. But I think it's kind of cool in a district of 13,000 that students do see you as accessible. I think that's kind of neat.